You good? All right. You guys have reviewed your minutes from last month? I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Mark, you want to go first? Is that?
I will.
Okay, the fire department's having a meeting, so Mark has asked to go first, if that's okay with everybody, so that he can get to his meeting. He has given us a report that's in your packet, and you want to go over it, Mark?
Well, the first section of that goes over some of the membership criteria, how we recruit, begin them, some of the benchmarks that each person would have to clear before they can become one of the firemen. And there are also a couple of classes that we've included them to take within their first 16-hour basic fire course within the first 6 months, and then the 64-hour basic firefighter course within the first 3 years that they're a part of the fire department. We asked others about information about the fleet. There is a description there of each of the trucks, the year model that they represent. The two mainline pumpers, engine 7 and engine 8. Engine 7 is a 1990 Ford E1 pumper. 8 is a 2004 International E1 pumper. The tanker, the old tanker, number 5, is an 88 model Ford truck. Tanker 6 is relatively new, it's 2019. It's an International, it's a combination pumper tanker. There is a equipment van, 2004 model GMC. The older brush truck, number 10, is a 91 Ford 250. It carries a rear skid unit that is a slide-in independent unit, and then brush truck 12 is the one that is the newest, 2022. It's a Ford, it was wrecked. It has a 300-gallon mounted pump and remote nozzles on it. We're going to work on getting hose tests done within either this spring or this fall. And then we have pump tests for the trucks lined up for approximately mid-March. Turnout gear typically has a useful life of about 10 years, less if it gets damaged under some circumstances. The inventory of hours is showing there. One of the great needs that the department will have in the near future will be new sets of turnout gear to replace some of the aging turnout gear or the gear that is out of service date. Some of the items that we're going to need pretty quick, foam. We'll probably need about 10 5-gallon buckets of that. Some 2 3-inch sections of hard suction. About 10 sets of turnout that will run about $3,000 for coats, pants, and boots. And it takes a 7-month build time to meet the specs and get the delivery back to you. So it's not a off-the-shelf purchase. A couple of extension ladders, and then we've got some firemen going to a state class in April, and for them we'll probably need to do some equipment rental to make sure, some turnout gear rental, make sure that their gear will be approved and passed inspection. We do have a grant that has been applied for and received in the amount of $11,400. That grant comes through the State Fire Marshal's office. It covers 2 items. One of them is thermal imaging camera, estimated cost about $4,200, and 6 extra SCBA bottles for $7,200 total. The next page in there goes backwards and looks at a recap of the 2022 fire year. 137 calls, and the breakdown of the calls is 5 structural fires, 5 vehicle fires. I've combined several categories into grass, brush, woodland, and controlled burns. There were 32 such calls. Medical listed as 3, hazardous conditions and service calls. Those could be anything from responding to some of the wrecks with injuries where they're serving as a backup for extrication and rescue. Could also be things related to a homeowner smells smoke in their house but sees no fire and they do an investigation. Could be my carbon monoxide detectors are going off in the house. So there's several things that can get grouped under that category, but 52 are hazardous conditions, 16 of the calls, and then false calls and good intentioned calls, 52 out of the 137. The good intentions sometimes are a passerby seeing smoke off in the distance. They make a call, engines respond, but turns out it was a controlled burn or something much less significant than thought at first. Mutual aid, 4 times aid was received, 24 times it was given during the year. The percentages to the right show a breakdown of those calls by the nature of the calls. Lots of the fires are grass, brush, and woodland. Total dollar loss that's listed in the reports is $305,000 and a little change for the year. There was 1 civilian fire casualty during 2022. When we look at the man hours that were contributed to all of those calls, 648 were contributed. There was an average of slightly over 8 personnel per call. There were 3 trucks on average per call. The response time overall on all calls was 9.9 minutes. What that one doesn't separate for me is I can't tell the difference between the emergency runs and the non-emergency runs. We will implement a slightly different report and record keeping system, and going forward we'll be able to break those down and separate emergency and non-emergency and give you a better response time figure on those emergency runs.
Okay, the next page is the budget, and you mentioned several things that you have need of.
I do,
Do you anticipate you're gonna have enough funds for all of that?
not if they're all done this budget cycle, no. The turnout gear alone would be $30,000 hit against the available funds. But some of that may be done different budget cycles. This year, some, next year, quickly, some.
Okay.
We've done that before in the past where we could process part of the orders in one budget cycle and another part of the orders with invoice in the second budget cycle.
Commissioners, y'all have questions? Okay, let's talk about the brush truck. Fun times. So, the brush truck was wrecked. We got a quote from the insurance. We're just gonna round off numbers here. They'll give us 205,000 and they keep the truck, or we keep the truck and a salvage title and we get 175,000. We have estimates from EVS and Blankenship. This is the insurance. Okay, so EVS, Emergency Vehicle Services, has said they could repair the truck for $170,000. Blankenship says they can, David, you did more with this, so explain what Blankenship is gonna do.
So talking with the owner, and he came out and Mark was with me. He looked over the truck to get the truck to just a running truck. So cabs straightened and anything issues there, the frame has to be straightened, but taking the existing bed of the truck off, taking the pumping, all the pumping stuff off. So it would just be a chassis with a cab and lights is what he's gonna put the truck back to at, was it 24,000 was his estimate?
27,000.
27. So if we were going to use it as, say, a rescue truck, since rescue is having a need of vehicle issues, that is a 450 Super Duty truck that you could attach the debris blade to, which they don't have a vehicle that'll do that. You could attach that to that vehicle. We could have EVS put just a standard box bed on the back of that for equipment. And now you have a replacement for Rescue One that will go above and beyond what Rescue One can even do right now. So that's an option for keeping the vehicle. Or we have a salvage title and just $170 and we just replace that and then we go find another vehicle for Rescue One replacement.
What is the fire chief's opinion?
I want a functional, dependable truck. If we go the repair it route, I want the county to be fully aware that Ford will probably cancel its warranties on a 2022 truck. And the county itself would have to accept those responsibilities going forward. And if there's any need for issues, maintenance, we know we had suspension damage on that wreck, and we know we had some frame torquing on the wreck. If the suspension is not fixed right, it could cause you to eat up tires pretty quick. If there is a torque in the frame, that could lead to some drivetrain and transmission issues with it. So you just got to be eyes open going into this, which direction. What we need from the fire department standpoint is a functional brush truck. As you see from the call volume, we respond to a lot of calls that are grass brush and woodland type fires. And that trend has been that way for a very long time, and it's not expected to change a lot. The truck that we are running right now, I believe it's a 90 model, which my notes say on Rush 10.
91.
It's a 91 Ford 250. That the department bought the truck and mounted the skid unit, like, actually, that's the second skid unit. It had a smaller, lighter skid unit to begin with, and we mounted the heavier one a few years later. But that truck it's got a lot of age, and it's beginning to show some mechanical issues.
Stick shift too, in.
Yes, sir. Everybody can't jump in that and drive it.
No.
Since Daniel's not here, do you have an opinion on the rescue getting a totaled brush truck?
I don't feel like it would fit the bill. It's designed for off-road work, not really.
Okay.
What we do.
Okay.
Rescue more.
What's the, you said the insurance is gonna give 210,
205.
205, yeah.
Mhm,
205, so what do we lose? What does the county?
We paid 175 for the truck, correct?
But EVS said the replacement truck is 230.
230-ish?
Yeah, to get another one.
And it will be a model larger
Yeah,
than
it'll be a
this
550.
truck. And there will be at least a 6-month build window from the time you execute some kind of transaction.
But EVS did say as well, if we decide to repair it, it will take them at least 6 months, possibly a year to repair. So,
My honest opinion, I don't think we need any emergency vehicle with a salvage title running the roads. That's just me.
Also, talking with EVS, when they came out and did their actual full inspection and their estimate for repair, they were of the opinion and were able to point out in several different items that the vehicle for fire, because of the requirements of certifications on different components, that vehicle is totaled. All that will have to be replaced. They're not reusable parts. The idea of it going to rescue is, one, Daniel made the comment that they've got the blade for debris removal from the roads. Being able to mount that blade to a 450 is much more feasible than mounting it to just a half-ton truck. It being a 4-wheel drive, to me, that's just a plus. That's more than what they would need. But you're looking at a vehicle that can be put in service, doing everything and more, hauling with the trailers, all that, for cheaper than you can go buy a new one. And it's still a brand new drivetrain. Blankenship has the equipment to straighten the frame, has the experience to straighten the frame, and work with the aluminum cab, and was very emphatic that he could get that thing back to 100% as far as drivability of a cab and chassis situation. And you already have your lights mounted, so you already have that wired into the truck. It's just a matter of putting the storage bed on the back for all the equipment.
I'm not
So that's-
advocating you go one route or another, but in terms of repairing it, early on, we did contact the insurance agent to make sure that they would continue to provide coverage for the truck and any of our people, our volunteers who might be in it. They replied that yes, they would.
And apparently we already have some salvage title vehicles in the county versus Public Works, Road Department, and I think maybe one of them up at Rescue, Matt? or-
Not aware of it.
Okay.
I think another option that we should entertain, if Rescue is not interested in this truck, if it doesn't fit what they need, then maybe it could be repaired and used as a brush truck.
I'm
In,
not saying that we couldn't use it for something. It's possible. I don't think replacing Rescue One is one of the options, so.
okay. I kind of feel like we're just gonna give a recommendation to the mayor. I feel like this is a mayor and fire department decision. I would love to give a recommendation from this committee if you all have a recommendation to give.
I think we need to buy a new one, even though we may have to put out a little money
Okay,
to make up the difference.
yeah.
I mean, that truck should be a brand new one, not one that's been redone. I
As-
feel like the liability of somebody driving it, going there, whatever, and it falls apart, cause a wreck, then it's gonna come back that it was not done, liability wise.
I
don't feel the truck's
do think,
liable.
We
Well-
both-
also asked the question, if we went that route that David's talking, could we remove anything off of the truck before we released it back to them? And they have told us that no, we could not. For example, the hose reel and the ground hose was not damaged at all, but it stays with the truck. So
And I
no
don't think,
parts and pieces can be salvaged off and kept here.
and I haven't heard any discussion saying that we shouldn't go ahead and buy another brush truck for the fire department. I think the question is bouncing around, what do we do with the one we have?
Sure.
Do we just total it out and take the 205,000, put a little extra with it, get a new truck? Or do we take the 174, keep
Keep the
the truck, repair it, give it to rescue, and
Buy
stay,
another truck.
and buy another truck? So I know Amy's looking at the budgetary on that as far as the expense of both repairing the truck and the cost of putting the box on there. She believes the money is available in EMA Rescue's budget, that it would just be moving funds around. But she was going to look into that tomorrow and was going to put that together so everyone could look and see where those funds could come from versus drawing off, fund balance of the county or the 101 fund. So I guess at this point, that's kind of what we need to kind of look at is which way do we go with it? What's going to be our recommendation? Do we just total the truck out and just let it go back to the insurance company? Or do we fix it and keep the rescue, and give it to rescue?
That's what I just asked.
Yeah. Apparently that seemed to have gotten lost a little, so I reiterated.
My thoughts would be to total it.
And just take the 205 and let it go back. Are you gonna make a motion? You wanna make a motion on that we're gonna vote on it as a recommendation, or?
What was your recommendation?
I make a motion that we vote on it.
Okay, so we have a motion that we just total the truck, take the settlement from the insurance and start from scratch. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That's the recommendation. All right. Now, anything else on fire that you want to talk about, Mr. Beeler?
Oh, I did have one question. Hey, were you guys, you remember, back to your false calls? Is that still nursing homes?
Not
Not as much anymore?
Not so much. There were a lot, Jay, correct me, ARC Automotive in the past year had a bunch of what turned out to be false calls at their facility. So they probably took the #1 spot.
Really?
Where nursing home quite a few years ago won that spot. Wouldn't you say that's to be true?
Okay.
And then the others are just a blend of homeowners and businesses that a lot of times they're associated with the ones in homes with cooking or preparing a meal. The smoke detector goes off. But ARC Automotive has the largest number right now.
So Mark, can you give just a quick estimate on what that costs just to roll out to a call?
You're looking at manpower,
And fuel costs, I mean, just $500, $1,000?
it would just be a guess, David. I hadn't looked at that from that standpoint.
And I guess my point, my
Some
reason
of it
for,
varies depending on how much manpower you're assembling,
yeah,
whether you're sending 2 volunteers or you're sending 10 volunteers,
yeah.
that cost quickly multiplies.
So I guess where I'm looking at a company that's having the majority of the calls, at some point, do we start charging them.
You have an ordinance on the books,
Okay.
that allows for that. It was utilized more as a point of leverage than it was anything else, to try to encourage that business or that homeowner to get theirs repaired so that it didn't cause frequent false alarms. ARC has, in 2022, I would say they by far have the winning number.
So what are we doing as far as leveraging them or?
Hadn't had
sending
one in
them
a
bill?
while.
Okay. So they're on the upside of fixing that situation then?
We hope so.
Okay.
Are you gonna go ahead and do a PO, or to go ahead and get several of these things that you guys are gonna be needing?
Yes,
Go ahead and get them taken care of?
yes. We'll operate within the budget. When we reach the end of that and need more, we'll come back to you.
Mark, I really do, looking at the response times, especially since you said that this is non-emergency and emergency mixed together,
Yes, it is.
that your average is only 3 minutes higher than EMS who's on site. I think that is astounding for a volunteer firefighter.
I'm disappointed with the 9.9, but be it as it may, thank you.
But everyone is having to get to the facility, get their gear, and then respond to the call at 10 minutes, where EMS is there with their equipment heading straight to the call. I think
We have
if y'all can
had,
improve it, that's great, but I think that's a heck of a response time.
we have had ours in past on emergency runs in the 7 to 8 minute range. That depends a great deal on whether or not you have a set of volunteers that live close to the station and can get there within 2 to 3, 4 minutes. That's what improves your odds.
Yeah.
Anything else for fire? All right, we'll move on to, we don't have anything for EMA. I don't have anything for EMA. Okay, EMS, I'm gonna let you go over your report this time. Is that okay?
113 responses last month for February, transported 72. Our average response time was 7.1 minutes. Took 5 to Charleston Medical Center, transferred 22, transported 108 to other facilities. Revenue bill was $65,094.80. Collected was $37,6192. Total revenue $329,530.60 for the fiscal year. The rest is just payments received from insurance companies. Staff 2 ambulances every day. We had 86 emergency calls and 27 non-emergency calls. We don't do any dialysis transports. I could get the numbers on the rescues. I got to go through dispatch to get that, and we do these. We'll print those reports off. Pull them up in our system, and then another for more than what tickets have been entered.
You guys have any questions?
Yes.
Do it.
Okay, I would like to have a starting point to us using our Trousdale Medical Center a little bit more than what we do now.
We do that based off patient acuity and patient request.
Yeah, and I have them getting me some information about what their capabilities are, and then I don't know if you guys have a list of your protocols, or if there's an updated protocol, and maybe we could keep, if they meet A, B, and C, keep them in Trousdale, because that takes a ambulance out on, say, a 30-hour run instead of, say, a 30-minute run. If you're going to like Sumner with the patient and then having to wait in that ER for a certain amount of time and then coming back in county, if we could, if they have everything that patient could need there at our Trousdale Medical, go ahead and let them go there. And say if they have a CT that's down or whatever, if they could let you guys know, and then you would need to go to another facility.
Most of it's patient requests, so if patients really want to go.
Yeah, well, I want to get kind of started on something to kind of collaborate a little bit, that way,
We don't have any specialty capabilities here. Nobody ours requires some level of specialty care.
Can you explain that to me, just because I don't know anything about medical?
They may be admitted to a CCU, or they may need orthopedic, or cardiac,
Oh,
or
okay,
respiratory.
okay.
And I think that we've got services, I don't know, and see, I'm not in contact, or like,
I think we can elaborate on what level of care they're able to.
yeah, like what, are you guys aware of everything? Like
We are.
like the very latest?
I
of the
mean, they can't even
capabilities?
do ultrasound outside of 4 p.m. So we do transfers to Vanderbilt for to check for pregnancy. And you talk about taking the county out, or taking the ambulance out of the county for 3 hours, that puts the Vanderbilt just turned into 5 or 6. That leaves you with 1 ambulance.
Yeah.
And possibly 1 BLS ambulance,
Yeah.
other than ALS ambulance. They don't have cath lab, they can't do anything for stroke.
No, those absolutely,
You know, immediate trauma,
right.
they have 2 units of blood. We have went there when we needed blood, and then transferred them out. As you can see from the transfers, we took 5 there, we transferred 22 out. Most of those 22 go to either Nashville, Smyrna, Antioch. They don't go to Vanderbilt, Wilson, or some regional, they go to Nashville or further than that. And patient requests, we obviously have to take them where patient requests go. We have some patients that request to go to Charles Medical Center, and we take them to Charles Medical Center. However, if they're having a heart attack, I have to take them to the closest appropriate facility, and that is not Charles Medical Center. The nurse practitioners down here they're scared of a lot. And that's something that Mr. Sean Donovan and I have talked to Matt about. And he will talk to them and things will get better and they'll actually start admitting some things. And then we get new nurse practitioners, which right now we've got some new ones. A couple of the old ones are out with maternity leave, et cetera. And then we get back into emergency transfers to Vanderbilt for an ingrown toenail.
Right, those are the type of things that I really want to, not necessarily, like zero in on, but there's definitely some, I think, some room for improvement on those.
But the thing is, we take them to Charlottesville and then they transfer them to Vanderbilt because they've got an ingrown fingernail or toenail. And that's what we're used to. Matter of fact, I took in a patient the other day, a psychiatric patient, and the response I got from the ER was them throwing stuff and telling me that they're not capable of handling a 6404 patient, and I shouldn't have come there. That patient also beat the crap out of 4 individuals in the back of my ambulance, including 2 law enforcement officers, and had to be sedated. That was the closest, most appropriate facility for my safety, my crew safety, and that patient's safety. He was a risk to himself. And that is all documented inside my narrative too. But the response I got from the ER was actually slinging things around because they were mad because I
We
came.
don't get to do that.
I mean, you're welcome to.
I'm not just.
So there needs to be some improvement on their end as well, absolutely.
That's what I'd like to try to, just a collaborative to, like, we don't have to be this service, go into this place, go into, it can be, we're all working.
We try to act, there's a pretty good variety. Most patients request either Randy Wilson or some reason. And that's,
Mental health, they don't have security over this hospital. When somebody goes in with a mental health issue, we wind up, I usually see correction officers over at the state, sometimes we might stay a day or two. Try to keep that person before they can get evaluated, go somewhere else. Sometimes it takes 2 days.
I know.
I've got somebody up there watching. Try to keep them run out the door.
Well, we don't have officers that stay with our psych patients, so you have it good when
an officer stays with them.
You got security in your hospital?
We have, yeah, we do.
We do try to take people to trial, though. I mean, honestly, a lot of times it is, my doctors are at Sumner, my doctors are at Randy Wilson, that's where only occasionally it's Armitage. You know, and then there's definitely some people that we're going to trials, but it doesn't care if my head's hanging off, we're going to trials. And we accept that and try to provide everything we can for them that they ask for.
Yeah.
However, if somebody requests, that is their right to request.
Thomas, you had something?
So, Matt, he was mentioning that they're not capable of dealing with stroke victims. Or do you guys, under doctor, advice or permission, or doctor order, I guess would be a better term, do y'all have access to administering TPN
No,
for strokes?
absolutely not. You have to have a CT scan for you to do that.
So then the statement that they're not capable of doing that isn't correct, because they are capable of doing CT scans and
They will not give
administering
TPA
TPN.
here. I've never seen TPA in there in the 10 years I've been here.
Okay, well, my mom was just had a stroke last 2 weeks ago. They did administer TPN and it saved her life. So yes, they are capable of doing that, and I think that's what Amber is getting at, is we need to be more looking beyond
They transfer
issues.
somewhere else.
She was life flighted over to, but they gave her the TPN here within an hour of having it. They gave her the clot buster here, and because they did, within 5 hours, she was able to speak again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's the point. Yes, Trousdale, it does not have the specialties of even Hendersonville or Summit, but they are a decent triage for when time matters to get first care to them. And I think that's all Amber is talking about, is let's make sure that we're utilizing them for those incidents. Even if a patient says, well, I don't want to go there. Well, if getting that clot buster will save their
They don't wanna
life,
go there,
then
we can't take them there. That's how it works.
Legally,
That's
we are
false
obligated
imprisonment.
to take them where they want to go. We can't take them against their will, we can't take them anywhere they don't want to go.
That's kidnapping.
Unless there is law enforcement involved, that puts them under 6401, which puts them in the protective police custody.
and I guess the point I'm making is building off what Amber is saying. For those who are not requesting, and it's just being, okay, they're having a stroke, let me take them to Gallatin, let me take them to Lebanon, because Hartsville can't do that, like you said. You weren't even aware they could do, were
No,
doing
they
that.
haven't. I just never heard them give it.
So what I'm telling you is firsthand, I was in the room when they gave it to her. So they are administering it. So just reach out and make sure that we are up to date on what they are capable of doing, so we can still provide the best care to the county.
And I think the point is that it's Trousdale County EMS, it's Trousdale Medical Center, we're all Trousdale County, why can't we all just work together?
Yeah.
You know, and let's all try to get along and work together, and, you know, does that not make sense?
I think it's, patient advocate first and take them where they probably would receive the highest level of care, would be at the top of the list instead of being favorites because we have the same name.
It's just because we're all in the same town and we're all supposed to support each other, right?
I understand that, but want to take care of the patient the best possible way.
Okay, let's move on from that. I don't think we're gonna get anywhere with that, so let's just, you wanna talk about your financial report, your operations report?
I did not get one.
Is there an extra copy?
Is this,
Yep, it's in that.
Can I back this up just 1 minute?
Absolutely.
I know we have people in here that work in hospitals, and we got our EMS here, we got our paramedics, then we got the director here. But when there's something going on at this hospital up here, how many in here has actually seen it? How many has actually been up there and actually seen the work in progress? Because when I see it, the paramedics are doing most of the job. It's not the people that work in the hospitals.
They actually call us pretty frequently to come intubate their patients because they can't intubate. They call us pretty often to come to the procedure.
Here's where I'm at with this, okay? There's nobody here from the hospital to represent themselves. So let's not start dogging the hospital because they're not here,
Right,
okay?
it's not dogging. I'm just saying that the level of care, what he is referring to is that the first responders knows that they're going to get a better level of care somewhere else. Let's just talk plain. I've seen gunshot victims go in with a bullet hole in the leg, that the paramedics have to be called in because there's not a tourniquet in the hospital to go on it. We can go down the list of things that we witness every day, and this is public knowledge, you know, you can go by and get all this stuff. But if I was in a situation and I needed care, almost everybody in this room would want to go somewhere else.
I can tell you, when I had to go to the ER myself, I went to Trousdale Medical Center.
So have I. I'm not
Okay.
saying I've never been. I'm just saying that.
And I think as a community, we need to utilize what we have and support our community hospital, or we're gonna be like Clay County and it's gonna close.
Well, this is a rural hospital. I mean, as far as it closing on, it's run off of government money. They're gonna keep that going just to
Although
bring in.
A private,
Huh?
it's a private company, so.
It-
Critical access, they get you first.
Okay. Anything else that you want to
I
add?
just, you know, our paramedics are the lifeline of it, and the people up there that work up there, I know them personally, they do a good job, but it's basically outdated. It just doesn't work for major care. It just doesn't work. And you got a violent person in there, the two women up the front that can't defend themselves. The whole thing is it's just not set up for today's climate. There's a lot of people that come in there that are strung out. They have a hard time dealing with them. It's just a bad, you know what? Them taking them somewhere else is doing the best for the individual at that time. Now, I'm not talking about ingrown toenails. I'm not talking about an arrow sticking, you know, I punctured myself. I went up there and got sewed up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who is either violent and they're out of their mind, or if they got something life-threatening going on. And everybody's mind, even the ones who work up there, is to get them to better care. That's the mentality and atmosphere that I got from up there. So that's just my opinion.
Duly noted. Mr. Beatty, you want to go over your operations report?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the overtime here, you know, we're really gonna go through and talk about that.
We can talk about your write-off. We passed a resolution to change the write-off policy. That needs to be discussed, the guidelines and how we're gonna go through that moving forward. My suggestion is, this committee, we're gonna work together to come up with how we're gonna do this. My suggestion is that Mr. Beatty gives a report every month with all personal information redacted, so we're not violating any HIPAA regulations or anything. But a reason for the call, a cost of the call, and a reason for it to be written off. And then we can assess the situation, is my thoughts. Is that something that you would be able to do monthly?
Yeah, I'll get to Teresa, make sure she can run those particular reports.
Okay.
She can come up with some solution to it.
Does that work for you guys?
I think as long as all the personal information is redacted, it's not a HIPAA issue.
Right,
And
exactly.
so it solely becomes almost an accounting
Exactly.
situation there.
That's all this is.
And so it's just an oversight, just making sure that everything's being collected that should be collected.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what this subcommittee is supposed to be, is oversight for emergency services. I don't see an issue with it.
Is that okay with you guys? Okay, so next month, in your reports, just include a write-off report that we can go over. As far as,
Mr. Chairman, on that, just to set a reasonable expectation on that, I mean, if we're gonna get that report a week before the meeting, I mean, there just needs to be an understanding that we're not expecting you to, you know, give up-to-date, you know, accounting. I mean, as long as because every month you're gonna have rollover from the month before because of the week of the meeting and what we were discussing, so.
Everything's pretty much about 6 weeks in arrears.
With billing and everything.
Gotcha. As far as personnel, has any changes been made
We
up there?
did, the one paramedic that is wanted to come on board and decided to stay in his other service has now decided to come, so he should hopefully start, if not the end of this week, maybe the first of next week. So that will greatly alleviate the strain on overtime pay. Having him on board, and then we've got the other paramedic that was part-time, that's on full-time now. So we have what, five now full-time?
So that is fully staffed?
No, still, we could, one more, we could put 2 ALS trucks up every shift, then we have one more paramedic, but we're still lacking that one.
Okay.
We're grinding towards that direction.
And still just on Indeed advertising?
It is. We haven't had any paramedic apply.
So maybe putting it somewhere else, advertising a little more is not an
Yeah.
option?
We can work up another Facebook post again.
And maybe, I don't know how you
It's pretty much,
search jobs, but maybe like, with community colleges around and, you know, where they're in school, maybe, do some advertisements
They
there.
won't graduate till end of this summer.
Is there anything with CTask or MTask that you could advertise there? I know they do government listings and whatnot for different positions.
Anybody looks on there or not, paramedic jobs, most paramedic jobs are word of mouth, I would say, but we'll certainly.
We talked about like PRN positions. Is that something you're pursuing?
Like that. I don't know if that's something that's gonna be worked into this budget year, or if it'll be something that'll come in next budget year, depending on.
I mean, you have a budget that you couldn't just create a position and hire a PRN position to help alleviate overtime right now?
I don't have a paramedic hired PRN.
So, but you could advertise with surrounding counties?
We could, but, I mean, we need like 10 positions, I don't know that 1 or 2.
But, I mean, you're not gonna get them if you don't advertise, right?
You know, I need to have funding to pay for them.
I mean,
I think she typically does about $12,000 per position.
I would say the overtime that you've already spent so far this year would have paid for PRN. I honestly would like to see you a little more aggressive on looking to hire instead of just kind of shrugging your shoulders and saying, yeah, we've got a post on Indeed. I mean, we're talking a couple $100,000 over budget on overtime. That's a big deal.
I mean, we've talked about doing PRN in the past, I mean.
I think we're just suggesting maybe put it out there that you're hiring PRN and, you know, see where it goes from there.
If we're in a desperate situation, I'd like to see the director actually acting as that we're in a desperate situation.
Well, I think it have been. We've gone from 5 employees to 13 now, so.
And that's definitely an improvement. Yeah, that's great.
Well, the other mayor wouldn't let him hire no PRN or whatever,
Well, that mayor's not here anymore.
so that kind of can knock you back a little.
Absolutely. I would love to see the budget get back in line.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall we'll be okay, just that one line item is the one that's upside down.
All right. Y'all have anything else for EMS?
Is the mayor still here?
He just stepped out for a phone call. Did you have something?
I'm just basically, you know, us as a committee, we're supposed to be with the numbers. We're supposed to make sure they have what they need to operate properly. As far as us running EMS, that is not what this committee is about.
You're absolutely correct. We are not here to micromanage departments. No commissioner is to micromanage departments. However, the overtime budget is at 100%, at 70% through the year, not even 70%. And that's all we're calling attention to.
That's what I'm saying, though, but when it starts off that way, it ends up going towards somebody. We can say that, hey, this needs to be fixed, and we can pass it along, but at the end of the day, it's the department head that has to fix it. It's not us to continue to pressure anybody. All these committees are just here to make sure the county's running smoothly. We're not here to put anybody down or say anybody's not doing their job.
Nobody's
Or
saying
not.
that. I don't think anybody said any personal attacks on anybody tonight.
There has been personal attacks, and I'm on this committee. And, you know, I don't mind calling it out when I see it. We are not here to put our department directors in their place. We are here to ask, see if we can get it to run smoothly, and we move on. Whether or not that happens or not, it's not on us. That's between the mayor, and that's between the department head.
Agreed. All I'm hearing is questions being asked and answered.
Yeah, there's a lot of it, but there's just no action. It's all a bunch of words being spoken to make somebody else look good. It's not anything's gonna fix this, nothing we're talking about until something's actually in place. I think every department head is doing the best they can. There's people in here that don't believe that way.
Do you have a solution for the problem?
Doing the best we can, as far as I can see. I mean, you don't have nobody on any other committee saying, hey, I think you're not doing this enough, you're not doing this.
I don't think we have any other department with the budget in the stance that this one is in.
It's because this department is used more than any other.
And I appreciate their services, absolutely. I think we all appreciate what they do for our community, but we as commissioners have a responsibility for our taxpayers and our tax dollars.
That is true.
And that's all we're questioning. Anything else? All right. Let me look at my notes. Mr. Harris is not here. Nothing else on EMS, right? Matt, do you want to talk about rescue? Do you know?
Yeah, he texted me today and said he wouldn't be able to be here, so I'm just kind of short notice on it. But I think he sent you the list of active members. Active.
He sent me a report on, like, the second to the last page.
I mean, the vehicle status is still the same. Rescue 1 is back and up and running. Outside of that, the 2 other vehicles that were non-serviceable are still non-serviceable. Few new applicants we discussed at the next meeting on the 13th. That'll bring our membership to 19. We do have a outside insurance company that comes and provides premium-free insurance funds. They're coming to talk. I believe they're coming next week. We're doing we already did the Vanessa Gate-free and EVOC training for driver, operator for emergency vehicles. He's working on new SOVs and SOGs, 20% completed. No update on the grant stuff yet. He submitted, I think, 3 are going to lost person training. One's going to, I think, actually 3 are actually going to go to dive training. And vehicle extractation is coming up in April for research. So, have everybody's vehicle education back up.
Okay.
Tell me something, this lost person training, is that something is that funded by rescue?
Yes. I think it's the Tennessee Association of Rescue Squads puts it on. I didn't tell you how much it is, I have to.
Okay. I asked you and Daniel for a list of active rescue
Yeah.
members, volunteers.
Supposed to.
He sent that to me.
Okay.
He did. This feels like micromanaging in light of the conversation that we just had, but a PO has been brought to my attention for a rescue volunteer that is not on the list of current volunteers.
Who's that?
Mark Carmen.
Should still be on there. That's an oversight, and he's still an active member.
What did you say?
There is a PO that was submitted for a ropes course training
Okay.
for $322 for Mark Carmen, but when I got the list of current volunteers, he was not on the list.
Okay.
Is he active? Is he still participating with rescue? He's been to trainings and events with rescue in, let's say, the last 6 months?
Probably not in the last 6 months, no.
So,
He hasn't been voted off or brought up for removal either.
but if a member is not active, is it appropriate to pay for a training if he's not active with the group?
That'd be someone to ask him about to see if he's wanting to be active again. You know,
Okay.
if he shows some effort.
Okay, I think that's probably a good plan to see if he's still gonna be with Charleston County Rescue. If he is, then I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I mean, is that what trainings cost? I have no idea.
Yeah, typically. I don't know what the fire academy charges for their trainings, but a rope rescue class off the top of my head, it's probably.
So he goes and learns this and then he comes back and can teach it to the rest of the volunteers,
Well,
or?
he wouldn't be able to teach it, but he would be another asset of, I'm a rope tech, and we got a couple other, Harris is a rope tech, we got a couple other rope techs in the county.
Okay,
So just be another member of the team and have it certified.
okay. Yes, Mr. Mayor?
better in my position where he resigned.
Yeah, he left his leadership position, but he asked to stay on the squad itself, so that's what he voiced to me anyways.
Right. I saw
He just
that.
didn't want to be in that leadership position anymore, he just wanted to stay on as a regular member.
Okay, so I think, we just need to know that he's gonna be active.
Sure,
And then, but I think the policy with the county is that the mayor approves POs. So I think it's at the mayor's discretion as well. It was just brought to be discussed tonight. So that's why we're discussing.
Got it, and I will certainly speak with him.
And I know it's been brought up for both the fire department and when we were looking at doing training for EMS, of the county paying for training and then those individuals taking the training and going to other counties and leaving us,
Right.
paying for their training and not getting the benefit from it. So I don't know, is there a policy as far as for volunteers, as far, so much service for so much training, or?
Not that I'm aware of.
So it's just left up to hoping you train them and they hang out? And I'm not just referring to Mark Carmen, please, I'm just in general.
Most volunteers are from Charleston County, or
Yes.
live here, and so they're gonna, yeah, I think that's. Okay. Do you have anything else you want to talk about at rescue?
I did have one, and I don't know if you can answer this, because I know Daniel actually did the training.
Sure.
On the driving training course that he did, was that offered to fire also?
Cannot answer that question.
I mean, in light of the incident that we had a few months ago, maybe it would be a good idea to maybe do a special class for fire volunteers,
Yeah,
just to make sure everyone is up.
You did it?
I did the class. There was some fire in that class. They might have also been on rescue, but I do know that I saw people that are mostly in fire. I'd never see them on rescue scenes.
Okay.
And they were in that class. I don't know if they were on rescue as well, because that gets jumbled up. I don't know who does
Well,
what.
In his report, we only have one member attended. That's why I was asking
For fire?
for the driving training.
Oh, there was many of us.
Yeah, so I'm
And
just
that
going on.
includes
That's why I'm
3
asking.
EMS personnel. We did
Okay.
the, and he also started driving logs for everybody on rescue that was at attend.
That's awesome.
Oh,
So-
that's great.
And that's why I'm asking. Like I said,
And everybody had to drive with an instructor.
when the information we're given says one member, it makes me question,
Absolutely.
are we letting everyone who drives our emergency vehicles get this training?
Yeah, no,
Because
everybody should.
It's diver, not driver. It's a diver.
Oh.
diver, okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't say anything about who attended for the driver. That's a mistake on my part.
Anything else?
Hey, while you guys are both here, I was in a discussion with, a couple of the, paramedics at my hospital that also work outside as fire and rescue. And they mentioned to me something that their counties do, and it's putting extrication with fire. Is that something that's?
That's the direction they were.
Absolute no-no, or, and then, I know, so, and then we went back into our fight corners, and, now we're not combining now, but, so the reason why I was talking to him was, kind of trying to figure out, how do you kind of help these crews get together better? And, they said, well, one thing that our counties do is they put extrication with fire. And they don't show up on as many calls together to knock it along. I just didn't know whether or not that was something that's completely, something that we can do in our county, whether or not anybody thinks that would solve arguments, or
That's
Well,
not something
number
we should-
one, I don't think this committee is for solving arguments between rescue and fire and in between. I think that's on the chiefs and the departments themselves to work out their arguments. I have heard that the fire and rescue wanted to merge, and EMS, I don't, but then last meeting, nobody wanted to, they don't want to merge, so I don't know.
No, it's just like, it's chew it amongst yourselves.
I think most progressive voters.
Any other discussion?
I've got one thing I want to bring up.
Sure.
It's for all the departments, just the sheriff's department. We've got two new towers up here in Travis County, one on Pumpkin Hill, and we're able to put a new tower up here on Marshall Street. We also need one on 231 Gravel Hill area. The water department's got some property up there, and they want us to put the tower there, but they can use it too, they want to pay for part of it. But it's a need for all emergency services, this tower repeater. 911 paid for the repeater system and the radios, the antennas and everything that went into those. It's like, what was it, $1 million we paid out 911? So really, the county responsibility to do it, just never would do it, so we took it upon ourselves to pay for the equipment. Towers were put up in grants, and I talked to Matt about it. We're gonna talk with FEMA about maybe trying to get another grant for a tower. And whether we can or not, I don't know. We got one from the tornado that came through back years ago, back in Korea. But we get on 231 North, our radios are dead, especially on portables. You get out on a portable radio, you gotta walk 10, 15 yards from the car, your radio go dead. So it's officer safety, not only counting us, it's everybody's safety. Fire, rescue, all of us. You get out on a portable radio, they're dead. There's no reception up there, when the hills lake. And we looked at putting one on Mutton Hollow, on Sumner County's tower. They were gonna let us do it, won't charge us anything. But there's a hill block in our system called a simulcast. This one up here talks to one on Pumpkin Hill. They talk back and forth to each other. Wherever you're at, in a vehicle, you could jump from this one to this tower. And up on Gravel Hill, they can talk where we're looking at the property we already own. And the water department said they would help pay some on it. But that's where we at. It's a bad need for all of us, not just the sheriff's department. That's something we need to look into, maybe trying to get started this year, trying to maybe get some grant money or figure out a way to get this, get it in.
Anything else? Any public comment? I will entertain. Yes, sir.
I would like to just say one thing. I know the overtime budget, is definitely not where it should be. You know, it's been a struggle the last 2 years, COVID, people getting out of emergency medicine in general. However, there's a lot of focus on the overtime line item, and there's a lot of money that doesn't get spent in other items that I just want everybody to make sure they're aware of. There's gonna be over $200,000 left in the general salary, because we didn't have those employees. And not only that, but there's uniforms, training. So despite the overtime looking absolutely horrible, we should not be over budget at the end of the year. I just wanted to make sure everybody knows.
Yeah, everybody's taking a hit, even us. I've got one in the academy right now, he graduates in 4 weeks. He graduates, it'll be the first time I've had a full crew in 4 years. And that's how bad it is for us in law enforcement. I've got a guy right now, corrections at the jail, I'm hiring one, and he comes to work next week. That'll be the first time I've had somebody in probably 6 years at the jail full crew. And I think one of the main reasons is because of the raises that we received last year. We brought those salaries up. That's something we need to continue to do, not only for the sheriff's department, for EMS, rescue, everybody that's in the system with us.
I believe now that we've got that new tier system in place, that will facilitate that for all the county employees.
Yeah.
So that will help that in a lot. Since this is, and I know it's always been an issue, I mean, historically, keeping the sheriff and, keeping that positions all filled, I get that. When we build a new jail, how are we gonna staff that?
Well, what we'll do is, once we decide on how big a jail we're gonna build and how it's designed, we can tell how many employees we're gonna hire, whatever it,
Yeah.
how many it's gonna take to operate and run it. So when we get that part of it done, we'll know. We just have to, staff it best we can, hire more people. Depend on the design of the jail too. I've had some talk about, those jails are built like a story and a half. You got a mezzanine at the top, and you take Wilson County, Sumner, they're 4, 5, 6 stories.
Yeah, but when you start going up, that's almost like having an individual jail on each
Yeah,
floor.
it's a jail on top of a jail.
Yeah.
It costs more people to run that type of jail.
Yeah.
And it's good for Sumner and Wilson, they had over 400 beds, we're talking about 100, 150 maybe. And for us to build a 3 or 4 layer jail is not feasible for us.
Yeah.
For the number of people we're gonna have. If we're gonna build a 400 bed jail, we might go up 3 or 4 stories.
Yeah.
That's just the things you have to look at.
Anything else? I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion, or meeting adjourned. Okay. I'm really sorry, y'all. That's really awful. So the commission has asked us to talk about this here. I am sure we all have opinions. My opinion is this is the mayor's and the EMS director's decision to work out. I am happy to take a recommendation from this committee if you have one.
Yeah, we can make this short and sweet. The state already has it as black, and so it won't cost us the $5,000 to go and repaint it, and the new one is also gonna be black, so we made sure of it, so we're all good.
So my only question is, since it was submitted both to the commission and to the state originally with the gray color versus the now black, is it truly been approved as is
Yes.
by the state? Because technically, we submitted one thing and did a completely different other thing.
Do you know?
Yeah, it's approved by the state.
Yes,
Okay.
we're all good.
Well, then if there's any other discussion, I believe that's between the director and the mayor of what they need to do on that, in my opinion.
So the recommendation from this committee is that the mayor is to handle this. Is that what I understand?
I'll make a motion that the mayor handle the situation, and it's not for us to micromanage.
Motion second. All in favor? All opposed? No. I will take a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Okay.